What's up, world? It's your boy Tommy on the spot for Watchalong Wrestling, and I'm a wrestling content creator from Long Island, New York. Thanks so much for checking out this video. 6 years ago this week, I was getting ready for WrestleMania 35, which was held right here in the New York, New Jersey area, and I vlogged the entire week-long experience for the Watchalong Wrestling YouTube channel. So now here in 2025, some 6 years later, we're going back and we're re-watching these vlogs with some alternate commentary from yours truly, as I'll take you kind of behind the scenes, talk through a lot of the different pieces of what I remembered most as we watched the vlog along together, and we've been having fun with this. And this particular vlog is day 2 of the vlog we're going to go check out today. This takes us back to the Wednesday before WrestleMania 35, kind of that calm before the storm. Most people who travel in for WrestleMania usually get there by Thursday, at the latest Friday. So Wednesday, being local, was still a little early for a lot of wrestling to go down. But the good news was I worked in Brooklyn, New York at the time, just a hop, skip, and jump away from the Barclays Center. So I'd always travel down to the Barclays Center to check out some of the sights and sounds as they'd get ready for WWE coming to town. So we did that in this video. And then I also was able to go check out Mick Foley do some comedy. A couple days before WrestleMania, he randomly added a show on Wednesday night, which I thought was genius because it really was for the local folks, because there's not too many people who come in town early for it, but the show sold out almost instantly, and I was able to attend this. This was a show called WrestleManiac, where Mick Foley went through his entire WrestleMania run. Now, Mick Foley might not be Mr. WrestleMania, but I did think he had some really fun stories along the way. So at the end of this, I'll come back. I'll talk a little bit about what I remember from that show, and until then, let's jump right in and rewatch day 2 of the WrestleMania 35 vlog.
Ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so here we go. A little bit of a teaser as to what's to come toward the end of the video with the Mick Foley comedy show. But the main thing that I was doing here was, again, heading to the Barclays Center. And at the time, I was working for a job that, in all honesty, I knew I wasn't long for. It was not going to be my career. It was a job that had gotten me started really in the field that I work in. And I knew at some point I'd leave, and I was probably at the tail end of this job at this stage. So whenever I'd have a break and WWE was in town, I would come down and check out what they'd have set up for the WWE event. And remember, WWE was at the Barclays Center for SummerSlam from 2015 through SummerSlam 2018, and then they came to town here for WrestleMania weekend. So you can see here I'm out there showing the mural. At this stage, I knew what to expect. I knew they'd have it all decked out in and around this area here. And it's such a cool area in front of the Barclays Center. And especially, I love these awnings they would have set up for the WWE events. You could see they were having Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and the Hall of Fame. This is back when SmackDown was on Tuesday, so NXT was Friday night, much better setup. You had the Hall of Fame on Saturday night because WrestleMania was still one night, and then Raw and SmackDown. But so interesting looking at the times. The Raw brand, you have obviously Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, and Ronda Rousey. SmackDown, you really had the New Day and Becky Lynch. NXT, you had Johnny Gargano. The kids don't know what Johnny Wrestling was all about back in NXT. Obviously Shayna Baszler and the Velveteen Dream. You know, you think back to Velveteen Dream, obviously ended up being kind of a bit of a sicko and whatnot, but he was one that WWE definitely thought was going to be a big future for them. He's featured prominently on this awning, and then obviously DX, who was headlining the Hall of Fame. But I love these little posts, and I remember being very surprised that there's no mention of WrestleMania. But if you think about it, it makes a certain degree of sense. While WrestleMania access was not all that far from where Brooklyn was, it was in Brooklyn, it wasn't too far from the Barclays Center, WrestleMania itself was all the way in New Jersey. So it makes a certain degree of sense that they wouldn't really promote it. And you could see here they have the WrestleMania store that was attached to the Barclays Center. I never did get back to this store. I remember being so excited seeing that there was a store, and it didn't open until, you can see the hours there, Thursday at 2, so still a day or so early for me there, being there on that Wednesday. But I was starting to get really amped up. You can kind of see Elias and Carmella and R-Truth and AJ Styles, Asuka on the store kind of windows there. And I definitely, without question, if this was the Watchalong Wrestling YouTube channel today, you'd get yourself a tour of this store. You'd get yourself a tour of the store over in the obviously MetLife Stadium, and then you'd obviously get the Superstore, which was attached to Access. I don't do any Superstore tour videos. I don't know what I was doing during this entire week. Very strange, but I never did get to any of the stores. It was very, very weird. So now what I'm talking about, and it's so funny because I remember I used to just literally kind of have carte blanche when it was break time. Like if I had a 30-minute break, I would just go, and this is when I'd go and film these videos. And I had to get back rather quickly for a work meeting. And I remember I left my wallet at my desk at work, and you had to obviously pay to park in this lot, and then I had to pay to get to the meeting I was getting at. So I did not have any money with me. I was able to just scrummage some change together in my car. But the real reason I was going to the Barclays Center, not only to get this type of video, was because when tickets went on sale for Raw After Mania, I grabbed them really quick, thinking they'd sell out right away, but really it was NXT that was the hottest ticket of the weekend, so I was hoping they'd be released the day of. Get to more on that after we get through the video, but you can see a packed house here at Subculture Comedy Club. Basically not a seat it left. That was a very small venue. I mean, there couldn't have been more than 100, 150 people there. That's Allison Janney, a former porn star. I'll talk a little bit more about her as well, because there's a funny story coming into this. But yeah, I was really excited. I was looking for something to do on Wednesday night, and I was able to take my buddy, who I used to work with, but I would still spend time with periodically. I kind of knew he wasn't going to be able to go to WrestleMania, so I was looking for some cheaper alternatives for him during the weekend, and so we got to go see Mick. And you see Mick smile right at the camera for me, and it's funny. I'll explain kind of that story there. Basically what happened was we had gotten to the Mick Foley comedy show, and I'm kind of breaking it down here, but when we had gotten there, Mick Foley was actually standing outside, and he was actually getting to the comedy show as we were arriving at the comedy show. Now, my buddy, who I had gone to the show with, did have a disability, and I think Mick kind of knew that, so I said, you know, Mick, do you mind if he gets a quick photo with you? Now, I will also say that Mick Foley has probably seen me a couple of times. I've seen Mick Foley at a Mets game. I've seen Mick Foley at Six Flags Great Adventure. I have seen Mick Foley pretty much 5 or 6 different times throughout. I've seen him live in comedy, done the VIP package a couple of times. One of my favorite wrestlers, local to Long Island as well. So there's always a bit of that local tie-in. But he's always been one of my favorites. And so when I knew he was doing comedy, I had to go. And so we're waiting outside for Mick to go through and do his to go into the venue, and we're walking in literally simultaneously with Mick Foley. And so Mick walks over, he asks how we're doing. He saw that my buddy had a disability, and he said, hey, why don't we, I think it'd be great if we got a photo. And my friend was just to the moon. And I'll even put up the photo here in a second as a good kind of transition spot here. And so they got their photo. My friend was just to the moon excited. And afterwards, I decided to press my luck and say, hey, Mick, is it cool if we get a selfie? And he's like, I would love if we got a selfie right during the VIP meet and greet after the show. But kind of did it in a Mick Foley type of way. It sounds to me, I don't want it to be misconstrued that he was being anything other than funny and genuine. And this was just such a fun show. Obviously, I couldn't do the VIP because it was with my friend. But I had met Mick so many times, but it was such a cool show because Mick he went through really his entire WrestleMania run. And for me, I love that. You've heard about Shawn Michaels' WrestleMania run. There's a Blu-ray dedicated to Shawn Michaels' WrestleMania run. You've heard about the Undertaker streak, but for Mick Foley to go through his run, that's the kind of stuff I just ate up. And there was this porn star, Allison Janney, who was the host for this show. And I remember she's like, who knows who I am? Who's a fan of mine? My buddy didn't have a clue, but he's being nice. He's like, woo! And she's like, oh, good to see some of my fans in attendance as well. And we didn't realize she was a porn star at the time. So a couple people who did know kind of chuckled at it. But it was all in fun. And Mick is a wonderful storyteller. If he does comedy again, I recommend going and checking him out. But this was a fun kind of look back. And I will say that I think part of me being in Brooklyn, knowing that WWE was coming to town every year, and I'd have to look forward to something to look forward to with WWE coming to town for SummerSlam weekends, and then eventually this weekend here, which is really the tail end. Brooklyn's never really gotten a full pay-per-view premium live event weekend after this. You had Survivor Series 2021, but that was in that weird period where you were coming back from COVID. But they really were the mecca of all things WWE for a solid 5 years. And you could see that. And that's why I really enjoyed going back and checking out that stuff. And I do think WWE coming to town and knowing they'd be in town may have kept me at this job a lot longer than I thought. I think also it was just the type of job where you had tons of paid time off, very flexible hours, and that stuff matters, especially as a newlywed. I would hustle on the side, you know, doing eBay, doing other odd jobs, and so I was set in terms of where I was career-wise, and I knew eventually I'd move on to go do, you know, deeper into my career. But at the time, it was a cool job. It kind of worked, and I liked being in the heart of Brooklyn. Parking was awful, traffic was worse, but other than that, it wasn't so bad. And the best part about it was when WWE came to town, I'd be able to go and check all this stuff out, and I loved it, and I thought it was great. And as I had mentioned, the main reason I went was to get NXT tickets. That became kind of the big thing of the weekend. You knew you had to get to the NXT TakeOver shows. Those became such a big deal, especially around the big four premium live events. You think about really every time they came to Brooklyn, that was really the start of their big premium live event, those big TakeOver shows. And obviously this particular show, TakeOver New York, right around WrestleMania 35 weekend, was going to be massive. So they put all the tickets on sale for Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and the Hall of Fame. And I immediately was like, I got to go and get Raw tickets, because your thought is you have 70,000, 80,000 people in town for WrestleMania. They're probably going to go to Raw, and that only holds 20,000 people. So the demand is just far more than what they can hold. I didn't realize people would be in town for NXT, and that ticket would sell out almost instantly. We'd eventually get there. It would be 2 days later, but the next day, which is tomorrow's vlog, is probably one of my favorite days. I won't give away too much, but we went to Access, we went to TNA. We had the most insane day ever. We'll get into all of it tomorrow. I can't wait to dive in. It is so much fun. Until next time, everyone, this has been Tommy on the Spot. I'll see you all in the next video.